Welcome everyone to this new episode of the Privacy Rules Privacy Espresso series, a series where we delve into the latest news on privacy and data protection from all over the world. We also discuss about news related to technologies, and we do that with our experts from the Privacy Rules Alliance, experts in the field coming from all over the world. The news of today and the topic of today is related to Brazil, and we are in Brazil with Igor Baden Powell from the law firm TozziniFreire Advogados, exclusive member of the Privacy Rules Alliance, which I would like to first of all thank for being with us. Hi, Igor, thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you, Alessandro. I'm really glad to be here. It's a very great opportunity to be here at PrivacyEspresso talking about something that I really like so much.
Thanks a lot. It's great to hear because the topic of today is quite interesting because we are going to discuss about data transfer, which is one of the big topic whenever we speak about privacy and data protection at the international level. We know that the Brazilian Data Protection Authority, the ANPD, has recently released a new regulation on international data transfers that, if I'm understanding well, provides further details on the chapter that you already have inside your law, that is the LGPD. So it's a subject quite relevant, I would say. My first question to you is, when should company be really caring about compliance with this resolution?
Great, that's a very good question. So whenever there is an international data transfer taking place from Brazil to a third country, the resolution will apply. And this is a very good question because our resolution, it differentiates international data transfer from international data collection. So an international data transfer is when personal data is being transferred from an exporting agent located here in Brazil to an importing agent located abroad. On the other hand, international data collection can be understood when there is personal data being directly collected by an agent located abroad. That said, international data collections are not considered international data transfers, and therefore they are not subject to this new resolution. But that doesn't mean the LGPD is not going to be applicable to these situations of international data collection. And that is because, just like the GDPR and many other privacy legislation, the LGPD has an extraterritorial scope, which means that it will still be applicable whenever the processing of personal data is being carried out in Brazil, no matter where the data controller or the data processor is located. When there are goods or services being offered to individuals that are located here in Brazil, even if the processing is being carried out by an agent located abroad, and if the personal data being processed was collected in Brazil. So those are the situations where the resolution will be applicable to.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Igor, for this clear overview. And it's also interesting to hear the difference between the concept of data transfer and data collection. Let's focus on data transfer. That is the key topic. And as you said, is the part that we are focusing on today. You already mentioned the GDPR, so the European regulatory framework that we all know, and you already mentioned some differences and similarities to it, but can we delve a bit more into this? So in relation to data transfer, are there similarities to the GDPR or main differences? What would you underline in this regard?
Yes. Just like I said, the LGPD and the GDPR, they are very similar. We share some rules, we share some responsibilities, and we also share some similarities in terms of international data transfer mechanisms. So international data transfers, they may take place based on adequacy decision or whenever there is appropriate safeguards, such as the BCRs, for example, and the SCCs. And we also have some other derogations like the specific consent, international treaties, authorization from the Brazilian DPA, the ANPD. International data transfers can also happen when there is a need to protect life or physical safety, among others situations that we share in similarity with the GDPR. And it's also important to mention that up to this moment, we have no adequacy decision rendered by the Brazilian DPA. We are still expecting this to come, but we believe this is only going to happen like next year. We don't expect an adequacy decision to come this year from our data protection authority.
Okay, but it's interesting to hear that you are expecting one, at least. So that's going to be interesting to see in the future. following to what you are saying, my next point would be related to the practical side of it. So what should company do in practice based on what you just said to be compliant or to prepare for being compliant with the new regulation?
Great. So I believe the first thing to be done is revising the company's data mappings, because this is really helpful, because looking at the data mapping, we can identify the activities that involve international data transfers. And by doing that, we can assess and identify the appropriate mechanisms that will enable the international data transfer to take place. And it's also important to mention that depending on the mechanism that we identify, additional steps must be taken before the ANPD, our data protection authority. For example, if a company wishes to have their BCRs approved, there are some documents that must be presented to the authority. So by going through the data mapping, we can identify these activities and therefore the apply mechanisms. Other than that, the resolution also sets forth some transparency measures. So companies will need to revise their privacy policies or privacy notices to fulfill with these requirements. And finally, there are some other measures that we are usually recommending to our clients here that may help throughout this process, such as revising internal flows, preparing an international data transfer policy. And also something that's very useful and helpful for companies is conducting trainings for the departments and for people that deal with international data flows, such as the procurement team. I believe these are the main measures, the main practical measures that we are recommending here.
Yeah, which is already a lot, meaning that all those measures you are mentioning takes time. So this bring me to an additional point that I think it's very important for our listeners. That is, how much time do company have, because this looks like a lot of work.
Well, it is important to mention that the resolution is already effective, but there is a 12-month period for processing agents that are relying in contractual clauses to carry out international data transfers to incorporate the standard contractual clauses, the SCCs, approved by the ANPD into their respective contractual instruments. A 12-month period seems like a long time, but there's a lot of work to be done, which can be a bit overwhelming. So this is why we are recommending our clients and companies to start this as quickly as possible.
That's absolutely a good point that we totally share, and we invite any of our listeners to send a message, send an email, or contact you or Luisa, our members from TozziniFreire in Brazil, in case of any need with the data transfer, but also any additional issue related to privacy and data protection. I would like, Igor, to thank you very much for your time. We are ending our time together today, but it was very clear. So thanks a lot for being with us. Thanks to our listeners for following us, and I look forward to meeting you again very soon.
Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you for the invitation, and I do hope to see you soon.